A brief introduction about myself. My name is Dr.Nurbu. I'm a physician. I was in the government until 2020 to 2002. Then I retired from the government service and I've started a health-related non-government organization by the name of Ladakh Institute of Prevention. So I do quite a bit of research on high altitude, environmental science, occupational health, and non-communicable disease in particular in this high altitude region of Ladakh. I have been practicing medicine for the last 55 years. I'm quite old, 82-year-old. So, you see, I may be deficient in my intellect. However, why I chose this subject for today is because, like everywhere in the world, Ladakh is also experiencing very high prevalence of non-communicable disease and cancers for the last, I think, 3 decades or so. At the present time, whether we talk about the youth or we talk about the whole population, whether male, female, adult, elderly, all of them, most of them, seem to be indulging in some kind of youth, maybe involved in drugs and other things, but other community people have a very high rate of addictive behavior. They indulge in pleasure-giving behaviors in their life, and therefore they predispose themselves to all these non-communicable disease, cancers, and mental diseases out throughout the world. So my intention is just to give the basic science of addiction. The rest will be done by pro-social activists, psychiatrists, psychologists, and everything. So to begin with, a simple definition of addiction could be, until now, what all of us was thinking was that addiction is just a matter of choice or ethics or moral, but it's not so. The science has proved that there's a basic neurobiological science behind the addiction. So it's not a choice. It's a chronic relapsing disorder characterized by continuous consumption, compulsory consumption of a substance or engagement in an activity of pleasure, despite this causing harm or interfere with everyday life and having effect on physical, mental, social life. So, in this addiction of substance or behavior, what happens is that the person enjoys and finds relief, whether it is drug, tobacco, alcohol, or any pleasurable behavior. They enjoy it, they find relief it, and at the same time they always crave for more and more of those substances. Craving is an important feature, but this is in the short term. But in the long term, there are so many negative consequences. They don't give up. They know all these consequences. short-term consequences, long-term consequences. They know it, but still they can't give it up. That's how addiction is. Now, some of the things, substances that we can tell is all those drugs, starting with cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, marijuana, or cannabis group of drugs, nicotine, alcohol, crystal meth, or Adderall, amphetamine, and other things. These are some of the drugs that the youth indulges in, but it comes in many, many forms. You can tablet, lozenges, injectables, everything. If we talk about what are the other things, behavioral things of addiction are gambling, shopping, workaholics, sex, smartphone, internet relationship, pornography, extreme sports, extreme reading habits, any number of increased human activity. And here in Ladakh, the adults, the elderly, everybody loves to take ultra-processed food, with the result that in my youth, young age, we would never find an obese person in that lay market, but today, 70% of them are obese. It's all because of all these things. So these are the things we have to tackle. How did it happen? In the West, you see people undergo surgery 5 to 6 to 7 times in their life. So when they go surgery for any organ, or they're involved in accidents and other things, so they receive painkillers, starting with morphine. So the morphine was first discovered by a German chemist, Friedrich Serturner. Today, opiates are available in a number of other forms, like, for example, the fentanyl is the worst thing, 100 times more potent than morphine and everything. So those are the other things. But cannabis, sativa, that comes from the plant. You see, they make ganja from the leaves and the thing. They make hashish, many things they make from the different parts of that plant. Many names that we can remember, but the children, they know all these things. 50 billion neurons, even more than that, those neurons. So these neurons, when we think of chocolate, in the neuron, in the axon terminal of the neuron, electrical impulse starts, what is known as electrical potential. You must have heard of sodium-potassium pump. So sodium is predominantly in the outside of the cell, potassium is in the inside of the cell. When this stimulus, the stimulus we talk about chocolate, for example, it can even be water stimulus. That stimulus starts the whole process. That electrical potential starts in the neuron, that travels through the dendrites and through the axons. And in the between those, there are small gap, which is known as synapse. So the electrical impulse, when they become negative inside, when calcium comes into it, the calcium imbibes with the vesicles which is lying near the axon terminal. These vesicles contain lots of transmitters. Transmitters like you must have heard of dopamine, serotonin, GABA, all those things. So they release these neurotransmitters in that gap in the synapse. And that process goes on from nerve to nerve, nerve to tissues, nerve to muscles, nerve to organs. This whole process is going on. And therefore what we call is these neurotransmitters are language of our brain. When I'm talking, when I'm moving my hands, it's because of the neurotransmitter that I'm doing. When I try to interpret anything, it's because of the neurotransmitter. When my heart is beating, it's because of the neurotransmitter that I'm going to do it. So, neurotransmitter, language of brain, They are chemical messengers. They carry message from one nerve cell to the next nerve cell to target and muscle cells to move. We make feel sensations because of this. We keep our heart beating because of the neurotransmitter. We process and respond all information we receive from the environment, from ourselves, from neighbors. It's all because of the neurotransmitters. So before going further, I would like to draw the picture of a brain. इसको बंद कर सकते हैं या इसको यूज़ करेंगे?